Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, I've made no secret of the fact that I don't like the Mark 1 Nissan Juke. In fact, that's a bit of an understatement. I did a video a few years ago called something like, "What's the point of the Nissan Juke?" And it got lots of views. Like everything on the internet, some people agreed and some people didn't. But I stand by those comments. Anyway, last week Nissan dropped off this all-new model for me to see if this can change my mind. I suppose we better drive it then and see if it is improved. This new model, this second generation Juke, was released in 2019, so I guess it isn't all that new anymore. But in 2022 it was tweaked slightly and a hybrid model became available for the first time, which is the model I'm in today. I think it's quite a big departure from the original Juke. Firstly, you've got the styling. Now I think this is much better looking. Not hard though, really, is it? But this is much more sleek and futuristic. They've smoothed out those lumps and bumps and got rid of those annoying bug eyes. It just looks much better, much cleaner. I love this magnetic blue colour with the optional black pearl roof. Just looks really good. I don't like the design of the wheels though on this hybrid. I know they've probably been designed like that for eco reasons, but they're not attractive. So I think it's fair to say then that the styling has improved dramatically. I mean, you can still tell it's a Juke. I guess they didn't want to totally alienate their fan base, but it's a bit more CHR-ish. One of my complaints about the original Juke was the lack of interior space. It all felt very crammed in and a bit claustrophobic. I'm happy to report that with this new Juke, it is a little bit better. There's a little bit more headroom, elbow room and leg room, so I don't feel like Harry Potter trapped under the stairs. The biggest improvement though is in the back. You get an extra 2 inches of knee room, plus about half an inch extra of headroom. In fairness, it still has the small rear windows, so it is quite dark back there, especially with this black interior. Still, it is a step in the right direction. The rear on the original Juke was really only useful for developing photographs. Moving back further still to the boot, again that's a massive improvement. The boot on the old Juke was almost useless. You know, considering most Juke owners were young families or young mums, you could barely fit a pram back there, but this one's much better. In fact, a whole 20% better to be precise. This offers 422 litres of space, which is more than most of its rivals. I'm also glad they've done away with the old parcel shelf, which was weirdly suspended on the tailgate, and it always, and I mean always, broke. Whoever dreamt up that should have been sacked on the spot, but this one's much better. They've gone with a conventional shelf, which shouldn't break. Whilst we're still talking about the interior, have a look at this. See what you think. In fact, let me know what you think below in the comments. It's not bad though, is it? I think it's alright. On the whole, it's much better than the previous generation. Some of it even feels quite upmarket. I like the design of the air vents, although that is one area that could be improved. They feel a little bit cheap. I like the floating screen. I like how it's operated partly by touchscreen and partly by actual physical buttons. As with most touchscreens though, it does get riddled with fingerprints quite quickly, so you'll have to keep a rag on you. We're approaching the bypass, so we'll do a quick performance test, shall we? Hold on to your hats. Actually feels quite brisk. Quite surprised by that. And there isn't an awful lot of wind or road noise either. I can't hear the wind lapping over those big door mirrors, but that's unavoidable really. I think Nissan have done a good job at insulating the cabin, to be honest. I like how the climate control buttons are down here rather than buried within the touchscreen, so you get, again, physical buttons. Just makes your life much easier. I like how they've used different materials in the cabin as well. I like this suede dashboard, for example. The steering wheel feels nice. So again, we've got another tick in the box there for the interior quality. Much better than the previous model. In terms of tech, then this comes with a lot. Of course, that's down to the fact this is the top spec Techno Plus model. You could save some money and go for one of the lowest spec models, but they're about as well equipped as a phone booth, so personally, I'd opt for a Techno. I mean, take this for example, you get heated front seats, a 360 camera, Bose audio. In fact, look at the speakers you get in the headrests. It's quite a cool design that. It almost looks as though Calvin Harris has draped a pair of his headphones over the headrest. You get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but one annoying thing, it doesn't work wirelessly. It's got to be physically plugged into the USB. And that's a bit poor now on a new car, don't you think? It should be wireless. Also, whilst I've got my negative hat on, yes, it's got a 360 camera and a reverse camera, but have a look at the quality. It's as if they've used a lens from an iPhone 4. You'd expect better, wouldn't you, from the land of the rising sun? Saying that, these are built in Sunderland. Maybe that's new technology in the northeast. Moving forward to the business end, there are only two engine options available. There's a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, which produces 115 horsepower, or there's a 1.6 litre petrol hybrid like the one I'm in today. The 1 litre engine's available with a manual gearbox or an auto, but the auto is a twin clutch box and they can be a bit jerky. This hybrid model has a 1.6 litre petrol engine which produces about 93 horsepower. In addition to that, it's got an electric motor which puts out another 48. So combined we're at about 140, which means, don't get me wrong, this never feels fast, but it does feel adequate. This is only available as an automatic and it comes in the form of an eCVT. And like any Toyota or Lexus I've ever driven, they do make a bit of a racket. To be fair, that only happens under heavy acceleration. In fairness though, for just driving around town, pootling around here, there and everywhere, it's alright. I'm surprised at how well this hybrid system works. I was honestly expecting this to be a half-hearted effort. I was expecting really for it to be nothing more than a badge on the back because the word hybrid is very much on trend. But this worked in a very similar way to Toyota's Synergy Drive. You can even run this for a few miles on battery power alone. There's a little button here marked EV, and when there's enough charge in the battery, providing you're not going too quickly, you press that and all of a sudden you just run on batteries. There's no option for a plug-in though, it isn't a plug-in hybrid. All you do is top it up with fuel and away you go. As you're driving along, it constantly tops up its own battery. I've been using this now for about a week and I can't really fault the way it drives. Actually, yes I can. Yes I can, so I shall. The ride's a bit firm and fidgety and the steering's a bit numb and vague. But most people buying a Juke won't really care about that sort of thing, so it is a bit of a pointless observation. Something else which surprised me, this is fitted with an e-pedal button like the one on the Nissan Leaf which I filmed with recently. I thought that'd be something that would be unique to an EV only, but obviously not. It takes a bit of getting used to though, because when you press it, it feels as though you've left the handbrake on. I guess in reality though, it's quite a handy feature because that way you'll eke more range out of the battery and save some money on fuel. Let me just demonstrate it now. So I'm going to press the e-pedal, I've got my foot off the accelerator, all of a sudden you'll slowly grind to a halt. I found this model to be very frugal too. While I've had it, I've averaged 42 miles per gallon, and that's been a mixture of driving motorways, round town, all sorts really. It's also quite cheap to fill up. It's only got a 46 litre tank, so when I filled it the other day, it only cost me 65 quid. The forward visibility is very good thanks to this slightly higher driving position. You've got these big door mirrors so you can clearly see what's in your wake. I've just noticed the heating element in the windscreen, so that'll be handy in the winter. The rear visibility though is a bit poor. There's quite a blind spot there from that rear pillar. Same was true of the previous model. So you'll definitely be grateful of that 360 camera, even if it is in low res. One of the biggest selling points with this type of car is its slightly higher stance, so it makes it very easy to get in and out of. It's also very easy to load things in and out of the boot. The height's just about right so you don't pull your back out. Weirdly though, there's no button on the key fob to unlock the boot, so you've got to unlock all the doors, and the tailgate isn't power operated, which for a car as highly spec'd as this one is a bit strange. The general running costs on this are about as low as you can get. It's clean air zone friendly, it's low tax, everything you could wish for really. Reliability wise, it's a bit of an unknown because it's too new. I could rattle off every single common fault with the Mark 1 Juke, but with this, I'm afraid I can't. What's a bit odd though is that Nissan only cover this for 3 years or 60,000 miles, which just seems a bit mean these days when most manufacturers are offering 5 or 7 year warranties. 3 years doesn't exactly fill you with confidence, does it? In terms of safety, this scored a full 5 stars at Euro NCAP, so it is a safe place to put your kids. You get 2 ISOFIX points in the back, but unfortunately there isn't one up front. But you do get 2 cup holders, an armrest and some door bins. The glove box is annoyingly small though, as is this centre cubby box. I've done a few hundred miles in this car now. I even drove all the way down to Cambridgeshire the other day to go and pick up an old SL, and it's perfectly comfortable. The seats are nice and supportive. They're finished in leather and suede, although I'm not actually sure it's real leather, but it certainly looks okay. They're quite supportive in the right places. It's all pretty good. The whole car really is a massive improvement over the first generation, and it's all pretty good. And that, I suppose, coming from me, is quite high praise. But there are a couple of things which really annoy me. Firstly then, because most of the time it runs on battery power alone, especially at low speeds, there's no noise. Which is good, I like that. But when you select reverse, it makes this artificial sort of, well, it's not really a beep, it's like a ch, ch, took me a day or two to figure out where the noise was coming from. I don't like it. Sounds like the ghost of a dump truck. It's just weird. Of course, I understand that's so blind people can hear you when you're reversing, but weirdly it doesn't do it when you're moving forward. Also, when you get too close to the car in front, the parking sensors go berserk, which granted is normal, but on every other car I've driven, there's a button somewhere, usually marked with a big P, so you can disengage them so you don't get a migraine. But with the new Juke, there's no button. I was in a McDonald's drive-thru the other day, don't judge me. I was trying to get in character of your average Juke buyer. I'm a method actor. And as I approached the white van in front, they were just beeping left, right and centre, and I couldn't figure out how to turn them off. Eventually, after pressing every single button, I discovered that if you press one of these arrows on the steering wheel, then they turn themselves off. How weird. Why don't just give me a button with P on it? Right, you're probably wondering what all this costs. Are you sitting down? This car, as tested, costs £30,320. It's quite a lot, isn't it, that? When I discovered the price, I nearly spat my coffee out, but one of my colleagues reminded me, quite rightly, everything's expensive these days. Go and have a look at the cost of a new Fiesta or new Corsa. The new Corsa starts at £18,000 and the Fiesta at 19 grand for a Fiesta. I remember when a Corsa or Fiesta would have cost you half that. Just doesn't make sense. So I suppose with that in mind, now the world's gone mad, 30 grand isn't that expensive. This actually looks quite good value compared to the Audi Q4 I filmed with recently, that was double that. Now in terms of used prices here in the UK, £15,000 will buy you a bog base model from 2019 with slightly higher mileage. For a hybrid model like this, don't forget they only started making this model in 2022, so prices are still quite high. You'll have to spend around £25,000 to get one like this. Well, a 2022 version like this. So is it an improvement over its hateful, geeky predecessor? Yeah, it absolutely is, in almost every area. Would I buy one? Nope, I wouldn't. But I'm not really the intended audience, am I? Last time I checked, I wasn't a young single mum, or indeed a 78-year-old grandmother. Although today I have been driving like one. This new model will still appeal to the same audience. Young mums, young families, they'll love it because it's safe and practical. And also the older generation will like it because it's still easy to get in and out of, and you can see over the bonnet. There's literally a wheel on each corner. So it is a really easy car to manoeuvre and park and live with ultimately. In terms of its rivals, if you want something slightly more reliable and slightly better built, but ugly as sin, then you could buy a Yaris Cross. Or you could go for something like a Skoda Kamiq or a VW T-Cross, but reliability with those is a bit of a roll of the dice. So, all in all, not bad. Way better than the Mark 1, and that's pretty much all I can tell you. Thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. And yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.